What's going on, everybody? Heinen here with my, as promised, NBA Finals review. And what a finals it was. History made in more ways than one. And believe it or not, the finals just finished up, and today we're already doing the NBA draft. Both of these on today's version of Heino's Highlights.
This is Heino's Highlight. For Heinen's a name, ranting about sports is the game. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Austin Heinen.
What's happening, everybody? Austin Heinen here, but you knew that already. First and foremost, wow. What an NBA Finals. I know that ain't the first time I've said that, but seriously, there's so much to think about when you thought about this year's NBA Finals. I mean, not just for the fact LeBron gets his third ring, of course, but also, of course, coming back from a 3-1 deficit for the first time in NBA history. Not to mention, it's also the first time ever the Cleveland Cavaliers have won a ring, bringing the big trophy to their hometown. And for the hometown hero LeBron James, how much does he have left in his tank, and where does he rank now? Let's get this going. Alright, before I give LeBron and the Cavaliers their due respect, first things first, though I know I thrashed them in my last show, I tip my hat to the Golden State Warriors. I mean, you have to. A 73-9 regular season record, an NBA record, and then Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, both doing well. I mean, they splashed threes all over the place. That's why they're called the Splash Brothers. I mean, Curry broke his own three-pointers made record again. I mean, it's one thing to make a record, but when you break your own record for more than once, that's saying something. Steph Curry, without any doubt, ladies and gentlemen, let's be clear, is a future Hall of Famer. There has never been a shooter like him in the past game. I mean, yeah, you've had great shooters. Ray Allen, go on, so forth. I mean, there's a great list, but none of them have done quite what Curry has done. However, at the same time, obviously, they kind of fell apart at the end, though. And again, I covered that in the last show. But I feel like that's why they met their demise. I mean, you went up 3-1. Series is over, right? Well, they had one bad game. And call me crazy, but I think after Cleveland made it a 3-2 series, that's when people kind of knew, don't sleep on Cleveland just yet. Why? Golden State was playing frustrated. The team that has the better overall team, you can arguably say, lost. Now, yes, Golden State, they lacked a big man. They had some injuries. I feel like that played a hand in it too, but no. To me, the biggest thing was Golden State lost their temper. When heat came upon them, they couldn't keep their head. Cleveland did, and then it's history now. But with no disrespect to the Warriors, I mean, again, they had a phenomenal season. We ain't going to see a record like that anytime too soon again. I don't think that's going to happen again from the Warriors next year, as, let's face it, they did get some pretty good breaks in the regular season. But, with that being said, let's move on to Cleveland. I mean, they are the team that not only has just won their first ever NBA title, but also in a historic fashion, the first team in NBA history to win the NBA Finals after facing a 3-1 deficit. I mean, teams have come back to force a Game 7 before, but that wasn't done in over 50 years. And even those teams couldn't finish off the job. And the fact that LeBron James and the Cavaliers have done it puts LeBron at legendary status. And I know I'm not the only one saying that. Analysts all over saying that. And we'll get into more what they said about him later on in some other topics. I know there are people that criticize LeBron James left and right And I know some of the things that he's done in the past brings it upon himself. I'm not saying LeBron doesn't ever deserve criticism, because in the past he has done some questionable things. See the decision when he went to Miami and how he handled that. While I think it was ended up being the best move for him ever and help build up his confidence again, I definitely think going to Miami, he definitely could have, shall we say, handled it much better than what he did. I mean, but how about the whole story in general for Cleveland? I mean, they fire their coach early on in the year, and then Tyronn Lue. I mean, what can you say about this guy? His first year, not even his first full year, and he takes a team like that was having a little bit of chemistry issues, a little bit of locker room trouble, and he gets it to all mesh together despite a few injury problems. I mean, Kevin Love wasn't fully healthy through most of the season. I'm not using it as an excuse for his poor performance in the NBA Finals. But I will give Kevin Love credit this. I mean, he did step it up in Game 7, but that's another story. About time, though, K-Love. About dang time. But again, with Lue, I mean, look at just this year in general. That is going to be a great up-and-coming coach. Hall of Famer? Maybe. It's way too early to tell. But I tell you what, he himself has also kind of made himself a legend status. I mean, how many coaches have done what Lue has done on his first year when he doesn't even get a first full year? It's amazing when you think about it. But, obviously with this finals done, I'm looking to the future. How much do we think LeBron has left in his tank? Well, as in, like, how many more NBA finals do we think he can hit? And how many more do we think he can win? Well, here's the thing. LeBron is 31 right now. So, give and take, let's say LeBron has, I don't know, let's say 7-8 years yet. I definitely believe LeBron will definitely go to at least a couple more NBA finals before that time would expire. I've said it once, and I'll say it again, because I've never said it on the show before. By the time LeBron James' career is all said, done, and written, I think LeBron will have at least 5 rings. 5. Now, that's not to say he can't get more, but I still think he is very much in his prime yet. Obviously, he's got to come down at some point. But as of right now, I think LeBron can easily retire from the NBA with at least 5 rings by the time his time is all done. Now, how does he compare to Jordan? Oh boy. Hey, let's talk about that a little bit now. So leading into where I think LeBron James ranks, let me give you my overall top 5 players of all time that have played in the NBA. In order, number 1, Michael Jordan. Number 2, Bill Russell. Number 3, LeBron. Number 4, Magic. Then number 5, Kobe. Now, obviously, some people might disagree with my list, but to me, there are so many greats in NBA history. It's so hard to get an official list because so many players have accomplished so much. Now, LeBron, I put him at 3 for now. He can rise, but then again, some people have put him lower. That's fair too. To me, it's all about your perspective. People, you see, they compare players so much by rings. But if you did that, then shoot, Bill Russell wins by a long shot. But to me, it's not just about how many championships you win. It's about what you have done with the teams that you've played on. There's really only one bad NBA Finals loss LeBron has. I mean, as it's been said by others, LeBron has been an NBA Final underdog in a lot of the series he's gone into. And yet, he's been able to win 3 out of 7. Now, obviously, that's still below 50%. But at the same time, well, let's just look back on some of them. His first ever NBA Finals with Cleveland against San Antonio, Cleveland had zero chance. I don't believe in moral victories, but at the same time, it was a victory in itself, though, that Cleveland made the NBA Finals that year. Then, he goes off to Miami, wins 2 rings there, out of 4 times where he went to the NBA Finals. Had the great upcoming Hall of Famer, Dwayne Wade. Chris Bosh, probably going to be a Hall of Famer. I wouldn't say that's going to be written in stone just yet, but he's knocking on the door. And now gets one in Cleveland. However, look at the 2 that he lost with Miami. The only bad NBA Finals in LeBron's career that blemishes or somewhat tarnishes his legacy is when they lost to the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA Finals. Because frankly, that was one of the rare times where LeBron's team was favorited to win. But they lose to Dirk Nowitzki and the Dallas Mavericks, and that's really the only bad finals he has. No disrespect to the Dallas Mavericks. I love Dirk Nowitzki. He's one of my top 5 favorite players in the entire NBA. But at the same time, that Miami should have had no problem with Dallas that one year, but they did. And LeBron did not particularly play well in that series. So really, to me, of all-time greats, LeBron, to me, is either 3rd or 4th. Now, I'm also putting it in perspective about what LeBron might, or rather should have done by the time he is done. Like, as when his career is done, where will we put him then? Because here's the deal. People want to rank LeBron much lower. I mean, some don't even want to put him in the top 10 of NBA greats. And to me, people that usually compare him in that way are usually not comparing LeBron fairly. I will explain. You see, example. You know what I say. LeBron is LeBron. Kobe was Kobe. Michael Jordan was Michael Jordan. Bill Russell was Bill Russell. Shaq was Shaq. Dirk is Dirk. So on, so forth, etc., etc., etc. Yes, that is a King and I reference. But really, the big thing I notice when people compare LeBron to MJ is that, or any player for that matter, is they compare like Michael Jordan's whole career to just what LeBron has done now. Personally, I don't feel that's a fair comparison. Because at this point in time, when Michael Jordan and LeBron were both 31, LeBron and MJ, they had 3 NBA Final victories, 3 NBA Finals MVPs. However, I will point out this, MJ had 3 NBA MVPs for regular season. LeBron has 4. Should be 5. No disrespect to Curry, but just saying, he's not the best player in the NBA. No. But as of right now, like I say, LeBron, I definitely think with this NBA Finals victory, he has put himself within the top 5. Because what the great NBA legends do is, they do stuff that other players have not done before. And LeBron has done 2 things that no other player has done before. 1 is bringing a championship to Cleveland. 2, helping lead a team back from a 3-1 deficit against a team that had a regular season record for wins. A team that went 73-9, and they came back from a 3-1 deficit. Now again, there were injuries involved in a little heat and tension, but at the same time, that is still not an easy accomplishment, and nobody has done it before. That, to me, is why LeBron has cemented a place in the top 5 of NBA all-time greats. But enough about this. We have NBA draft coming up tonight, so let's talk a little bit about that before we wrap things up. So, on to the NBA draft. Believe it or not, yes, it is already time for the NBA draft. Wouldn't you wish that the NFL draft could come this soon after the Super Bowl? Without further ado, there are many NBA mock drafts out there. but the ones that I like the most have players in this order. It's not ESPN. I'm looking at hoopshype.com, which is a decent source. Obviously, it's not ESPN, but to me, it's pretty well made out. First, the unanimous first pick that everybody's talking about, Ben Simmons. Who else could you go with? When you're comparing this kid to a guy like LeBron James, a player that can do a little bit of everything, how could you not put him first? The dude averaged a double-double, 19 points and about 12 boards a game. How can you pass on that? Now, obviously, I will say there have been rumors, I don't know if these are true or not, that Ben Simmons really doesn't want to go to Philadelphia. And if that's the case, that could be a problem. Not so much maybe for Ben. If he doesn't want to play in Philadelphia, I can promise you there are other teams that are willing to negotiate and try to talk to the Philadelphia and bring him in. But at the same time, can you really blame him if it was true? I ain't gonna lie. If I was in Ben's shoes, I wouldn't want to go to Philadelphia. Even if it meant giving up over the first overall pick, I want to go to a team where at least there's a prayer at starting to win. And I don't see that in Philadelphia. Number 2, Brandon Ingram to Duke. Kind of also an all-around unanimous thing. Everyone expects Brandon Ingram to go second. The Dookie, former freshman, great player made by the greatest college basketball coach, Mike Krzyzewski. Averaging 17 points and about 7 boards. This is a small forward that I think has a great comparison to Kevin Durant. And others have said that as well. The guy can score, and he's got a great wingspan that can help make defensive boards, and once in a while even get some steals. And with him being next to D'Angelo Russell, now that Kobe's out of the picture in LA, I think this is a great fit for LA. Moving down to LA's rival, the Celtics, they're talking about Chris Dunn going there, a 6'4" point guard from Providence. Now, whenever you get a guy from the Big East, you know you are drafting a guy that ain't afraid to get physical. Because if you play in the Big East, you can't be afraid to get physical. Yes, there are some shooters there, but you got to have guys that are not afraid to take to the basket either. The guy averaged about 16 points and about 5 boards. When you're getting about 5 rebounds for a point guard, that's pretty decent stat. That's, to me, almost Russell Westbrook. Now, I'm not saying I'm comparing Chris Dunn to Russell Westbrook, but in the rebounds category, it's somewhat along those lines. And with Rondo been out of the pictures for a couple of years, Boston's been kind of hurting, I think, at the point guard position. Chris Dunn, will he be the answer? Well, we'll find out if they draft him. Moving on to Phoenix, Jaylen Brown, highly targeted prospect out of high school, did 1 year at Cal, and now on to the NBA. Now this guy is a little more of a shooter, but that's why he's a shooting guard. Duh. Averaging about 15 points a game and about 5 rebounds in his 1 year at Cal. The Pac-12, sometimes doesn't get all the respect it deserves because, it gets overshadowed by conferences such as the Big Ten, the ACC, Big 12, maybe even the SEC or Big East. There's so many great conferences, it's hard to keep track of them all. And then finally, the 5th pick, Buddy Hield to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, they compare this guy to Brandon Roy, and I don't know. I somewhat compare Buddy Hield to Kobe based on his scoring. And not as an overall player, but based on his scoring ability, I compare Buddy Hield to Kobe. The guy averaged 25 points and about 6 boards in the Big 12. When you're going against people like OK State or Kansas, Iowa State, Texas Tech made the tournament. Baylor. It was a really deep conference this year. And West Virginia being another one. I almost forgot that one. Can't forget that one. There were a lot of teams that not only made the tournament, that were also ranked in the top 25 for 90% of the season. And when you can score 25 points and be one of the very few that are honored with the privilege to be in the talk of the Naismith Award, you know you're doing something right. Only thing with Minnesota, I don't think Minnesota so much needs to worry about offense. That's my only one thing about that pick is, I mean, Minnesota really needs more defense. They got plenty of scores. But with him at shooting guard and Rubio and all the other offensive weapons like Levine and Wiggins, who knows? I mean, they have youth, so maybe their defense will get better. We'll see how it pans out. But I know Minnesota, if they do this, their scoring threat is going to become that much greater. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I got for you today. Thank you very much for listening. I'll probably make another show in the relative near future about a review on the NBA draft. I mean, after that, there is probably going to be some surprises. You can't plan everything out. And before you know it, NFL preseason. Hey, folks, it's knocking on the door. It's creeping up on us. And obviously not coming fast enough, but it never does. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much for listening to this version of Heino's Highlights. Thank you very much for your continued support, and I will talk to you all later.